You're listening to ABA One-on-One Podcast.
Like what you hear on the show? Got a project, new business, or event you want to get the word out for? Then become an ABA One-on-One sponsor. We have some really cool packages and we can fit any budget. The ABA has a huge fan base with reach in many local and international communities. For more information, just go to our website, www.aba1on1.club. Hey guys, it's time for a new episode of ABA One-on-One.
Open up, yeah. Open up now. Open up. Open up, yeah. Open up. Open up now. I give a damn dog, give him a bone. Give a damn dog a bone. I give a damn dog, give him a bone. Give a damn dog a bone. I give him a bone. Damn dog, give him a bone. Give a damn dog a bone. I give him a bone.
All right, here we go, guys. Welcome back to ABA One-on-One. We have a few Twin Towers in the house today. We got Greg Kite and Paul Mokeski, along with our regular group of guys. We got Brian over there in Melbourne, Australia, and we got Rick in Florida. Gentlemen, welcome to ABA One-on-One. Let's chat.
Sounds good.
All right, guys.
Great to be here.
All right.
Welcome.
All right, there we go. Hey, Rick, like usual, we'll let you start this off, man. What do you want to throw out there for the boys?
Oh, I don't want to do a whole lot of talking. I'm just really looking forward to hearing these guys tell some stories. I'm a big listener of stories, and I always pick up a couple stories, and I change them around a bit to suit the occasion.
Good man. Well, I'm going to start it off because we've been chatting. Paul and I have been chatting, and I just threw it out there earlier. Paul, man, come on.
Yep.
Let's talk about that first episode of The Last Dance. We saw you in there.
And Greg
Go
knows
for
me
it,
better.
Paul.
Greg knows me better. I mean, I caught a lot of crap because I was in there and MJ went to the basket. And, usually I step in front and take a charge or try to, or just hammer him. And evidently I stepped out of the way, which was unlike me. But I'll tell you, I think one time, and Greg, you've probably been in this situation. I think early in his career at MJ in the old stadium there in Chicago, I did foul him really hard. And he went to the ground, and then he laid on the ground like he was dead. And all the fans are yelling at me and throwing, and then he springs up and looks at me and makes a couple free. I was like, don't ever do that. I might not make it out of here, man.
Man, I love it because I have to be honest with you. Back in the day whenever you got in the game, especially on one of my good teams against one of my good teams, I always knew when you come in, people were going to get hurt. So you're one of those guys that we love, but we love to hate as well. So that was real good, man. And Greg, man, what you got to tell me, because you're with the Boston Celtics, man. That was the dynasty back in the day.
2 rings.
Yeah, it was great. Fortunate spot. I joined them, and they picked me in with their first round pick in the '83 draft. They traded Rick Roby to one of their backup centers to the Phoenix to get Dennis Johnson. So they had a spot to fill, and I walked in there with prime of Larry Bird's career and the prime years of the Magic Johnson years, the Lakers Celtics rivalry, great teams in the East like the Milwaukee Bucks where Paul was playing, Philadelphia 76ers. It was just an incredible time. I went to four NBA finals in a row. I remember some of these veterans like Quinn Buckner and ML Carr first year telling us, hey, Brooks, enjoy this. It doesn't, this doesn't come along too often in your career. And I get to go 4 years in a row to the finals.
Yeah, Greg, I never made it.
Yeah, and when you look at that, Paul, a guy like Paul had a great long career, never made it. other guys, Hall of Famers, made it. Like a Charles Barkley or Karl Malone, John Stockton, never
Patrick
went.
Ewing.
Yeah, Patrick. Just what a great opportunity and blessing that was. And while I was there, I got to play with 5 Hall of Famers. Had a Hall of Fame coach, Casey Jones, a Hall of Fame general manager, Red Auerbach. They let me buy a ticket to go through the Hall of Fame and tour the Hall of Fame in Springfield. But it was incredible. Play with Perrysburg, McHale, Bill Walton later, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, who was an all-star, and just was an honor and a pretty cool deal.
And Greg, people don't realize, like, back then the East was loaded. I mean, always you guys, always Philly, always Atlanta, always us in Milwaukee. It was loaded back then. To get to the finals out of the East was something special.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I thought about this, a few years ago when the Heat were winning, and I'm not knocking the Heat with the LeBron and Dwayne and Chris Bosh. They were a very good team, but I'm going, hey, some of those teams that were second, third, fourth in the East back in those days, I think if it's the same era, they could have contended for a title too. They were, you look at the team you guys had with the teams you had with the Bucks, and just like you named off those others, and then what you see, you still see it somewhat then, but teams, Paul, really had to climb the ladder. Usually, they had to go through the growing pains to get up there to be a contender. You think about all those years where Chicago, the first few years where Chicago didn't make the playoffs or knocked out early. Same thing with Detroit, Cleveland Cavs, Atlanta, and sometimes they bump up to that ceiling and they hit this other, who's ever at the top of the ladder, the Celtics or the Lakers in the West. But that's usually a process for teams to get to be that championship caliber.
Hey, Greg, Isaiah, I think, used that excuse, so I don't know if excuse is the right word. He used that analogy when they walked out on the Bulls. On the Bulls, when the Bulls dethroned them, they walked up without shaking their hand and kind of went off to the dressing room. And their rationale was, well, Boston did that to us 2 years earlier. And then I heard on the radio yesterday, the day before yesterday, that they were talking about the stadium, how it was packed for the safety issues. That's why they got Bird and McHale and all you guys off the floor, because they were getting ready to storm the floor, that they didn't necessarily walk off of bad sportsmanship. They was the players' safety was the reason that you guys had walked off.
It probably was. Yeah, they left some. They let the scrubs stay on the floor and find their way off. Me and Rick Carlisle and Sam Vincent, the other guys on the bench, which was okay. Hey, it was cool. It was actually pretty cool the day they stormed the court in '84. We won the championship. I saw Danny Ainge and Gerald Henderson fight for the game ball, and I think Danny ended up getting. I don't remember. And so in '86, we're defeating the Rockets in Game 6 in the Garden, and the crowd's pressing in on the court. And I was out there. It was a little bit of mop-up time, so I got the ball and created it like I was, Gale Sayers or something. Ran through the crowd, broke a couple of tackles, knocked a couple of people down, got to the locker room with it.
Hey, Greg, I got to ask you this one thing, and then I'll let Brian in here because I know he's out there, got a couple of good ones to throw at you. But, man, how tall are you? Because I've seen I never look you up. Like, I've watched you play. That's not a problem. But I just remember seeing Kareem doing a sky hook, and you went up to block it once, and you came to his elbow when you were kind of getting off the ground. Man, what was that like?
You're asking me, Greg? Yeah. How tall am I? Well, number one, Paul, did you ever see Kareem's shot get blocked?
No, I'm actually in my office, Greg, and I have a picture of. Remember Randy Brewer, 7'3"?
Sure.
I have a picture. We're both in the game at the same time, and we pushed him to his left for his hook, and we're both jumping. And there's no way we're touching that thing.
Yeah, I mean, Kareem's 7'2" with good reach and just that beautiful artistic, skyhook shot. He had his body between, you and the defender. There's no way you're getting it. I think I saw a clip one time of like Nate Thurman or Wilt or something when they were really, when he was really young, first in the league, maybe getting a piece of it once, but it didn't happen, So wow. I'm 6'11", So
Okay.
shorter,
And
shorter than Kareem to begin with. But
When you stand up, right?
when I stand up, it's hard
Yeah.
to stand up these days.
That's what I tell. I'm 6'7", and then
Yeah.
people say, "How tall are you?" And
Yeah.
I'll ask them. I said, "You when I'm standing up," and that usually throws them off. Then they forget what he even asked me.
Hey,
Oh my God.
Paul
Paul
knows
You
this
guys
well.
still 6'11" and 6'7". Once I turned 50, my 6'8" height started going downward. I think I might be 6'6" now.
Hey man, hey
Am I eating the wrong food?
all you guys be quiet, man. I'm having Kevin Hart syndrome. I'm 6'1". I've been 6'1" all my life since I was 13.
Hey, that's okay. As Paul knows well, and these basketball guys, coaches know well, Paul, it doesn't really matter how tall you are; it's how long those arms are. It's Kevin McHale.
Yeah.
Kevin McHale was about the same height I was, maybe a little half inch shorter. He could reach 5 inches higher than I could.
Oh wow.
Exactly. I mean,
So-
Kevin always said, "Oh, well, I'm 6'11" or whatever." Yeah, but his arm span was like 7'8". So it's
Yeah.
and the thing with Kareem's hook that we're just to touch base, the thing with that is it was so pretty and amazing that he could shoot that thing from like the free throw line. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, or get out there on the baseline with no backboard.
Yeah,
You know, Paul hit that thing for 15, 17 feet.
it was pretty. Greg, I ended up watching it too much my first year or two in the league. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to guard this guy.
Oh,
See,
well, I'm glad when I was playing against him for the most part, he was 35 plus, you know, so he was still tough, but he was slowing down a little bit. And I would just try to go down and beat him to the spot and make him shoot a little bit further out and hope he turned to the left, you know? And,
Yeah, he got a little. I did that one time, Greg. He got a little feisty, and the foreman punched me in the back of the head.
oh, he thought you were Kent Benson. He just made
Yeah.
mistakes.
And of course, the ref didn't call no foul.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Brian,
Yeah,
what do
well,
you want to throw out there, Brian?
no, just with that, you guys talk about that hook shot by Kareem. Do you find it interesting, like with today's game, that big men and both of you guys were big men in the game? Do you find it interesting that today's game that big men haven't really, utilized a shot like the hook, like that hook shot, or learned how to utilize a shot like that hook shot? I mean, that used to be a mainstay for some of the big guys to score over other big guys. But do you think, what are your thoughts on post players nowadays actually developing a lethal shot like that?
Well, I would say, Kareem, and back then it was like his sky hook and a running hook, and Patrick Ewing had a running hook. Dwight Howard tried to have one, and then it turned to like more of a jump hook. That's kind of what I had, and I think Greg had one, was more of a jump hook, and then it just seemed to disappear altogether when bigs wanted to handle the ball and shoot threes and do all that. So it's a lost art that I think if a big guy would come through, like a young big guy, and really work on that, I think it would be so effective and surprise a lot of people. What about you, Greg?
I think so too, Paul. And they talk about all the analytics these days. You can't beat, and having a good post player is offensive takes a lot of work and takes time to do that and develop that. But you're Kareem, or you're somebody down there and you're shooting 55 to 60%, 75% on the line, and an effective passer. The analytics that if you measure that points per possession versus shooting the threes, and then you hear Shaq and Charles Barkley a little bit getting on a guy like Joel Embiid, and they're right. It's great. He and some of these other big guys can knock down a three, but he makes himself an average player out there. He goes down in that box and he dominates. And Paul too. We don't see a lot of there were some smaller guys who were great post-up players back in the day. Some guards, a guy like Adrian Dantley, Barkley, etc. And you got to think that you want to spread the floor, and if you got a dangerous post player, how much better does that make you spreading the floor with those 3-point shooters?
Yeah, and we had Ricky Pierce. We put him on the block all the time, and Pistons had Vinnie Johnson, and You know, when we gave it to Ricky Pearson a post against a little guard, we call it the torture chamber. I mean, he was so effective, and like you said, he could pass out of there.
Throw away the key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, if you know what would be to me would be an interesting rule change if they really, you know, they've done all these rule changes to get scoring back, which was good, but it's, and they probably never think of this, but shrink the lane back to the college lane.
Ooh,
think about that. If you put a post player down on that block that close to the basket, and you got that much farther of a rotation to those 3-point shooters, then that's going to, you know, open up a lot of openings the way they shoot 3-point. But even with the NBA lane where it is today, you know, you would think you'd have a more post presence because it would really, you know, and it's a beautiful part of the game not that we're biased. Paul and I would be out there shooting 3-pointers now anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, look, me and Brian and I have this talk all the time. We miss that kind of play. Like today's game is all about, you know, shooting 80 feet out. You know, it's not about, you know, like, you know, making that solid play and then getting down in low where, you know, everybody's trying to crash that one guy to stop him kind of play. You know, you just don't see it that much.
It's turned away from inside out to outside outer.
Hey, and not taking nothing away from Steph Curry or anybody like that, because man, every time I watch that kid, he's amazing what he's doing. But you know, that's his new game. But you know, when you really love basketball, you miss that inside game.
You do. That's true, though. It's gone from an inside out to an outside outer, because I try and teach players here when I coach is that, you know, if the ball has to go inside. I don't care what you do. It has to go inside because you got to keep defenses honest. You got to keep players honest. But with today's game, that's all I see now is the younger guys wanting to shoot threes. The big guys, oh, coach, I can shoot a three. And it's like, okay, but can you make a layup? And that's kind of the mentality of where today's game is. You know,
basketball has turned into a guard, a perimeter, and it all together. Because you know, you talk about LeBron, you know, with those guys who you talk somebody can take you down the block and punish you, but LeBron shooting his accuracy from three, and they did a new study. I don't know whether you guys saw it or not. Threes count more than twos. I'm not sure you guys know about that, but they did.
If you shoot 33% from the three, it's like shooting 50% from the two.
Exactly.
That's the analytic.
Yeah.
I worked for the Rockets for a few years. I was
Daryl Morey. That's Daryl Morey.
So that's what I'm talking about. Paul, think about Steve Johnson. Guys don't remember Steve Johnson or Artis Gilmore or Kareem. Those guys shot 56, 58, 60, 63% from the floor, you know, around the basket. And so you look at those analytics, that's what I'm saying. You get a decent post player, even if the guy's getting you 15 a game or something, much less 25, it's just as strong as sitting out there and knocking down threes at a 33 or 36 or 37% clip, especially if that guy on the block's getting fouled.
Well, you look at the game when we played, Greg, and even great 3-point shooters like Bird didn't shoot many in the game because, well, of course, you guys had some great post players, but it just was more sense to go inside first.
Yeah, and it, just wasn't thought about it, as much. And if you look at, an old game film, you'll see the offenses aren't spread out as much. A lot of that motion and action is inside the
pick and roll.
Is inside the 3-point line, but I guarantee you those guys that are played in the 80s and 90s, if the philosophy had been a little bit different, they'd have been shooting just as many threes as they are now, and they'd be great 3-point shooters at it. It's they're great shooters are great shooters. They just adjust and maybe take more.
For sure.
Yeah. Agreed.
Now you mentioned pick and roll there, Rick. I think today's game, it used to be a time there when it was a pick and roll. I think today's game is more pick and pop. What do you think?
Yeah. You're right. But it depends on who that pop guy is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Paul and Greg both, I think, were related, but Dale Harris, I'm good friends with him too. We may get him on the show too, CJ.
All right.
Dale Harris used to say he liked shooters, but he liked makers better.
Yeah, but
I never forgot that.
Yeah, Del Harris is the professor. He was my coach as a rookie in Houston with Moses Malone, and
Yeah,
I learned so much from both those guys. And you know, and Del was one of the first. Coach was one of the first of not like. He once told me, because you know I don't play him much because Moses played most of the game, but he said, Mo, you know why Moses gets all those rebounds? I said, well, he's quick and you know he can move around. I said, yeah, but he goes after 32% more rebounds than everybody else in the whole league, so he gets more. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
He shoots it to himself. He used to shoot it to himself.
Oh, he would do that for sure. Hey, we actually had a play in Houston where you know Moses would flash into the post, in the middle of the lane, and you know guys would have to kind of three-quarter him, and then he would pivot and block him out like a rebound, and the guys like Mike Dunleavy or Rudy T would throw it off the backboard to him as a pass. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then Dunleavy would go over to the scorer's table and tell them that was a pass, not a shot.
Or an offensive rebound.
Yeah, exactly.
2 for 1. Not bad.
Moses Malone, though, I don't think gets credit for how great a player he was.
Oh yeah.
If you look at his numbers, rebound numbers and scoring, it's you know, he's being passed now because it's a new day and age, but Moses Malone was unbelievable. And most of his career, his good career, was in the ABA.
I learned more practicing against Moses Malone for a year than playing for 5 years in the NBA. Just practicing against him and how hard he worked. And, you know, he taught me so much, God rest his soul, but yeah, he is underrated. He is underrated and underlooked today.
Yeah, faux.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I
phenomenal.
want to throw in one quick question for both of you guys. My cousin's husband was Lonnie Shelton with the Seattle Supersonics, and Kevin McHale used to say that was one person he hated playing against because Lonnie would bring it, and he's like, you know, built like a Mack truck, as everybody knows. Who was that one person that you hated stepping out on the court with? Greg, you go first.
Paul Mokeski. He was not.
A little nepotism here.
No, my perspective is totally different. I love stepping out on the court. Didn't matter who was out there. I had a lot of pine time in the NBA, which is great. You know, DNP is okay as long as it's do not pay on the stat sheet. But you know, I've kind of been asked that. You know, who's the toughest and all that. I mean, I love going out there and playing. I guess if there was anybody I was a little bit wary of was I was wary of Bill Cartwright's reverse move in his high elbow. He got me. I got the hat trick with him one time. I was playing for the Clippers after Boston. We're in Chicago, and Bill makes that strong reverse pivot move with his elbows up high. Got me in the cheekbone. They thought I broke my cheekbone later, and so I got hurt. They called a foul on me. I fouled him with my cheek, and he scored. So that was the hat trick. I tell you, I can tell you a great Lonnie Shelton story. If you got a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lonnie's playing for Cleveland, and Cedric Maxwell was here with the Celtics, and Max was coming up on a free agent year, and you know, nice new contract, and so we're out there kind of pregame, you know, warm up, shoot around, and Max and Kevin and McHale and Danny Ainge say to Max, and I'm sitting by him stretching. He said, "Max, you feeling okay? You gonna play tonight?" He says, "No." He says, "You see that big guy down there?" Points to Lonnie Shelton. "He can hurt you." And so, sure enough, Max got in foul trouble quick or something. Then the next summer, Max signs his contract. The next year, we're playing Cleveland, and Lonnie Shelton's there, and and they asked Max. Max is all, got it signed away, and said, Max, you can play tonight. How are you feeling? He says, yeah, you see that big guy down there? He can hurt you. Hey, get hurt. I got to sit down. That's okay. I'm getting paid.
My cousin's gonna love hearing that story when she listens to this. What about you, Paul?
Well, I like Greg. I think, did you play with Fred Roberts for a year or so?
Yeah. And Fred and I were teammates in college for 3 years.
Oh, he's such a great guy, and we had so much fun. But he got caught by one of the Cartwright elbows one time when he was playing with us with the Bucks, and he looked at me. He knew he got hit, and he looked at me, and there was no blood, but damn, his cheekbone was indented in. I'm like, Fred, you need to go to the bench, man. And Bill never did it on purpose. He just flew around. But, I say, people ask me that a lot because, Kareem or Daryl Dawkins or, Artis Gilmore. But I battled them and I kind of knew what they were trying to do. The guys I really had problem with, besides you, Greg, was was the guys I didn't know what they were going to do, and that was Kevin McHale and Moses Malone, because you never knew what they're going to throw up there. You just never knew where the shot angle was coming from.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
Man.
Hey, Greg, you and Paul, I'll tell you this quick thing here. A good friend, Clement Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we got to get him on the show.
Yeah, we are. But anyway, when he was with the 76ers, I took him to China with me about, 6 or 8 years ago. So we spent a lot of time telling stories, but he would tell me that, when he was with, I think he played for Jack Ramsey. I know he played with Billy Cunningham. He played on that 76er team in '82 that won a championship. But anyway, he said that they told him straight up, your job is to be the enforcer, to make sure nobody messes with Andrew Toney or Maurice Cheeks. And he said, I wanted to play. So he said, he would when this other big guy would come in. What was the guy's name that played with Washington? It was
Mahorn Rulin.
Rick Mahorn and Greg Kite and Paul Mokeski. When they were, he said, your job is to cancel them out. And he said they would stay down at one end of the floor and just go at it. Oh, Maurice Lucas was the other one, and he said. Yeah. His job, that's what his job was, just to make sure that he was like the enforcer. Otherwise, he's going to be, what good was he could be out there for if he wasn't going to be, what the coach wanted to do. But I always thought that was kind of funny.
Well, back then it was way more physical, obviously. And, I remember against Lucas when I was a rookie and we were playing an exhibition game. And so Moses wasn't playing. And so I was playing and I was guarding him and I saw him look around and then he just nailed me in the chest with an elbow and knocked me on my ass, and then looked over me, just staring at me.
Wow.
I'm like, well, shit, okay. So, about I bought my time for about 5 minutes, and then I get him under the basket. I look around, no refs looking, and I knock him on his ass. And he look and I look at him, and he looks at me and says, "Is that the way it's going to be, rookie?" I said, "I guess so." He said, "Okay." But that's just the way it was back then. I mean, if you didn't, you had to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a welcome to the NBA moment like that, Paul. We were playing the Lakers in exhibition. Swin Nader just hauled around and gave me a full fisted swing right to the stomach, and just looked at me and said, "Young boy," or something like that.
Yeah, that dude was strong too, Greg. That dude was strong.
But speaking of that too, just thinking, you talk about physical play, and a guy coming off the bench, backup center or even other backups, it was just kind of expected. And the analytics are, hey, don't let a guy go to the basket. This guard, this perimeter guy drives in there, make him think about it. Make him earn it at the free throw line. Just like the old, the intimidation, don't get as much in the NFL, but the receiver going over the middle doesn't want to get hit by Jack Tatum or whoever was going to ring his bell the day they didn't protect the receivers as much. And it wasn't to hurt anybody or anything like that. Obviously, there were things that fired up, but it was just that was the way it was going to play. And even other things that they changed the rules with, like the no hand checking and open court now, and being able to bump and deflect cutters, they can still do it somewhat now, but not as aggressively as we did then. And what's interesting about that to me with those rule changes, you go back into the 80s and then into the early 90s, the scoring was just as high, with those rules. And then it got stagnant, and then they had to change the rules to bring the scoring back. We 86, we averaged like 114 a game, won the championship when we were like the 6th or 7th highest scoring team in the league. So teams were scoring 110, 115, 105 a game. Nuggets were scoring 124 with those rules. And so, think about what Michael Jordan would have done, or George Gervin or something would have done today with the rules. How many points would they have scored?
Man. And you guys and those guys were scoring those kind of points without dribbling the air on the ball either. You're moving the ball and passing. And back to the physical part, hell, Greg, you remember we had drills where you bump cutters coming through the lane. Now the rule is you can't impede the offense. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that the definition of defense, impeding the offense?
Hey, guys, sorry to jump in here. Look like we're going to start running out of time here pretty soon, but I did want to kind of wrap up, man. It was definitely awesome having both of you guys on ABA 101. And
I thought this was a 2-hour show.
No. I try to keep it. What I try to do is keep it short so people can listen while they're working out. We want people to keep coming back. We want people to keep coming back. We
want people to keep coming back.
That's it.
I'm not going to comment because I'm not in that that bracket, that salary bracket. So
hey, Brian, we had a talk with your agent. You should be getting that contract real soon, bro. Like, don't worry.
My check's in the mail, right?
It's covered, Brian. It's covered. But I really want to thank Paul and Greg, both of you guys, man, for coming on. Like, the thing I like about the show is we've been able to reach out to a lot of players that inspired us in the game when we were all growing up and playing ourselves. And it's just phenomenal, the feedback we've been getting. So I want to thank you guys, and we're going to have you back on again. We'll do it again.
Well, I really enjoyed it, and we could just call it the Mo Greg Show. We'll do another show.
All right.
I enjoyed it too. Thanks for having me on. Great to catch up with everybody.
All right, guys. Well,
appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, really do.
Yeah, really do. We'll do this all. We'll do it all again. And gentlemen, I want to thank you. And that's going to be it this week from ABA 101. Just, keep your eyes on the ball out there, guys. Everyone take care.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Greg. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
Thank
Greg.
you. Appreciate it.
Great having you on, man. Fantastic.
Peace.
The American Basketball Association is the largest pro league in the world. Some great opportunities for team ownership are available, and the cost may surprise you. If you've ever thought about team ownership in a pro league, give us the opportunity to help make it a reality. Reach out to us for more info. For USA teams at www.abaliveaction.com. In Australia, go to www.abaleagueaustralia.com.
The best way to keep up with everything happening around here at ABA 101 is to join our monthly newsletter. Just for joining, we give you $230 worth of free gifts from our sponsors once you confirm your email address. You can unsubscribe at any time, but why would you? Just go to our website, www.aba101.club, scroll to the bottom of the page, and subscribe. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Remember, you can keep up with every episode by subscribing via our website. Follow us on social media and tell your friends about us. Next week, new guests, more basketball tips, more basketball stories about the game we all love. Till then, be safe and keep your eyes on the ball.
Give him a bone. Give him a bone. Give him a bone.